My name's Alex, and this is the Moog Minitaur. Do you like that little turn there? Was that too much? You want to get the full effect. So back in the day, Moog released a synth called the Taurus 1. Now this was a big hulking bass synthesizer that was built into a sort of pedal board. It literally had pedals like an organ. It was picked up by a lot of bands at the time and became this kind of cult machine just because it has a ridiculous sound. It just was the bassiest synth that you could buy. And obviously, you know, there are not that many of them, and it's a Moog, so it got this cult status, and people still use Taurus 1s. Now, there was a Taurus 2 sometime in the 80s, and then very recently, in the last few years, Moog re-released the Taurus as the Taurus 3. Now, this was like a modern recreation. It had presets, still really big, obviously, sort of, it's this big chunky machine, but it had that sound. It had that kind of raw, sort of deep, ultra bassy sound, and we did really well with it. But there's obviously a demand for a lower cost synth, but that has the same kind of sound. So this is the idea with the Minitaur, basically. It's the same sonics as the big Tauruses, but it's in a small desktop box. It doesn't have the organ-y pedal keyboard, but obviously, you know, you can connect it with MIDI or USB, something like that. And it's good for the studio as well, basically. So let's take a look at it. It's a 2-oscillator synth, like the original Tauruses. Unlike the original Taurus, it's actually got square wave as well. You can see here that these oscillators 1 and 2 can be changed from saw to square, 2 waveforms available. There's a mixer control to choose how much of the waveforms you put in. VCO2 tuning dial here lets you tune VCO2 independently to VCO1, so you can get kind of cool detuned effects. And this goes up 1 octave or down 1 octave. There's also a fine tune control here, so you can tune to your really strange band if your band is not in tune with the rest of you. Filter, and this is obviously a Taurus filter. It's still a Moog ladder, but there are some things I'm told behind the scenes which make it unique to the Taurus. There's a certain characteristic to this filter. It sounds very nice, and here it is. There's also an audio input around the back, but we'll look at that around a second. You can filter things with it. EG amount controls how much this envelope control affects the filter, and there are 2 envelopes. They are kind of mini Moog style, which is to say that they're 3 control rather than ADSR. They're kind of ADRs, but you can flip and engage release. So here we've got attack. This control is both decay if that's not on, and it's release if it is on. And then this is sustain. So you'll see in action, but basically it means that you get quite a lot of control with not a great amount of dials, and there is a separate release control, so all good. VCA is just the volume of the synth. It also controls the volume of the headput out, which is around the back. And then we've got modulation. There is one LFO, which is triangle, and that can affect the VCO, so you can do wubs, or is it wows? I don't know, but you can do VCO modulation with that, and then VCF, that is wub, that's the wub control on there. So that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a glide control as well, which obviously controls the amount of glide between notes when you play them, and you turn that on and off with this, and that just controls how fast it jumps to the note. So let's have a look around the back as well. Okay, so here's the back. You've got audio output, quite important, need one of those. Audio input, so you can run things in through the filter, which is very cool. It's got CV inputs, because it's an analog synth. Obviously, if you've got other kit that uses control voltages, you can control the Minitaur from them. So you can send it pitch to add more wobble, filter to control the filter from what have you, volume CV, that controls the volume obviously, and gate triggers the envelopes. This is cool if you've got, if you don't have an analog synth, but you do have an expression pedal, like the Moog EP2, you can plug those into there and get extra control, you know, with your feet, which is quite cool. MIDI in, that's just obviously, you know, for sending it MIDI CCs. It does, by the way, respond to MIDI CCs, but we'll look at that. And then USB, and that will allow it to send knob control changes and receive them as well. There's also some cool stuff that we can do with the computer software that's free, and we'll look at that later. Power, gotta have power. Oh, and there's a headphone output as well, little 3.5mm, but that's there if you need it. Cool. We can get interesting sort of things going on if we have the oscillators beating against each other. Bit of filter. If you get a bit of envelope on this, let's have that release on, and then this will now control release. some modulation on. We basically do this by, this changes the mod rate. This is how much it affects the VCO. And on my keyboard, I'm going to play with the mod wheel, which actually engages that function. You can hear it coming in. And the VCO, the LFO even goes very slow, very fast. You get all kinds of weird stuff going on. Scintillating, strange. There's me messing with the modulation wheel. Lots of fun. That's the Moog Minitaur in action. But behind it is just this kind of colossal low end. And it's simple, don't get me wrong, I mean, this is a simple synth. There's lots of different sounds to be had, just subtle different combinations. A lot of classic sounds too, like just really. Here we've got a kind of weird little percussion sound. Okay, so here's the software editor that you can get free, and basically you can see, obviously this is just the Minitaur as we know it. Now if we actually adjust these dials, it will send the MIDI to the Minitaur, and if we get MIDI from the Minitaur, if we mess with the dial, it will show up on here as well. You've got full control, just as if you've got a Minitaur in front of you, but here's where the cool stuff starts to happen, because in here, look, we've got settings, and these settings give access to stuff that is not available from the front panel. So let's move that out of the way. We've got a fine control for oscillator 2, so you can control the sort of the beat frequency. And it's a very cool note sync thing that means when you hit a note, it will make the oscillators start in sync with each other. So you just get a kind of fatter bass sound. They're not starting out of sync with each other. It's very cool. There's a lot of the stuff in here is to do with performance and how the Minitaur responds to you know, MIDI via a keyboard. So you've got control over the legato mode, turn that on and off, key priority depending on how you like it. So, you know, low note, high note, last note. Again, here's more legato turning on the legato, sorry, and the glide control as well. Here we've got control for the pitch bend wheel, so that you can choose how much the pitch bend goes up and how much it goes down when you fiddle with it on the keyboard. And here's very cool, LFO sync. So LFO will sync to MIDI, and you can control the clock rates with this. Turn it on and off, and set it so that it starts when you press a key down. Also, there's a level control for the external audio in, which is a very cool thing actually, because you can do the feedback trick of sending the headphone out back into the audio input. That lets you control how much of the level's coming into the external audio in. So, nice thing to have. Now, there is one other thing which is very, very important and very cool. Presets. You actually can save presets on the Minitaur, but obviously you use your computer to do it. So the computer can send patches to the Minitaur, and you can save them with this little bit of software. So it does require there to be a computer connected, but if you have that, it will mean that you can quickly bang through presets on the Minitaur, even though the synth itself doesn't have any presets, you know, preset storage as is. So very cool. That's free, this software, so you'll be able to download it from moogmusic.com, and if you have a Minitaur, it will make it better, which is cool. So yeah, check it out. It's available to order now from DV. Get one, have fun with it. Thanks for watching.